What is rote learning? Rote learning is picking up some information by ear. We listen to it, hear it, repeat it again, back and forth until we've got it. As an example, the information could be not just music, but anything that we pick up by ear. It could be a story, it could be a poem, some history, a description of some kind, even a grocery list, or maybe a Bible verse, or a catechism lesson, spelling, other things, math facts, or even some music. If we break the information into segments that make sense and repeat them in order, one after another, we eventually build it into the whole. Then we are able to remember it and memorize the information. This is called learning by rote. Rote learning has been used extensively in the past, and it still continues to be used. It was used to teach oral histories of people about the events of their lives and their peoples carried on from generation to generation. It's been used to pass on prayers or memorize prayers or Bible verses. It's been used in music for teaching folk musics by ear, learning the tunes, teaching them to another, passing them on and on. And in world musics throughout the world, it's often used that way as well, for passing on the music from one generation to another and learning it. So rote music has been a great part of the music experience in our cultural history in this world. What are the drawbacks then that some people have with rote teaching? Well, the biggest drawback to rote teaching is that it's possible to learn something by ear but not understand it. A person can quote a very learned statement, word for word, in a very convincing manner and not understand a thing about what it is that they're saying. So that's one thing about teaching by rote. You can't necessarily be sure that a person understands what it is that they're talking about or saying. Another drawback for rote learning is that it's not written down. And in our culture, especially in America, if it's not written down, it's not given prime importance. So in that way, because of our particular culture, it seems like rote learning is less important than being able to read or to have things written down, because if it was important, it'd be written down. But not all things work that way. Another thing is that for rote learning, unless it's repeated, eventually it will be forgotten. And of course, that's the great value of having something written down, is that you can return to it. But in rote learning, unless you repeat it and continually repeat it, at some point, if you stop, well, you're eventually going to forget it. It's easy to recall, but it may or may not be remembered at a certain point. So those are generally the drawbacks to rote teaching. With these criticisms in mind, why is it that I really like rote teaching? Well, I see some certain advantages to teaching by rote, and that's why I use it in the Smith method. First advantage is that we can learn to play music by ear. Now that's, when you're looking at that, I say, well, that's good, but can't we learn to play music also by reading? Yes, we can, but it adds another process to it, and especially at younger ages, that can complicate it more than is necessary. The reason why is that when we're learning how to play, we have to deal with how do we play the instrument and playing the music at the same time. Well, if you're learning how to play and how to read at the same time, it's a lot more complex than just learning how to play. So, learning to play an instrument by ear, not just music, but an instrument by ear, I think is also, playing by ear, is also an advantage. We can learn to play musically by ear. There's an advantage here. It's that we're learning to play music, we're learning to play an instrument, but we're also learning and picking up from another person how to play really musically. And isn't that how we learn? The best way that I ever learned how to play music is to get with a musician who's better than I am and play with them. That's how it's done. And this is a wonderful way in which we can have advantages in rote learning, to play music and play very musically by ear by playing with another person. We can play music with other people. We learn how to play music with other people by ear. So we learn our music by ear and we can all play it together. And that's a great advantage, and it's one of the wonderful things about music is that it's music making and making it with other people. A great harmonizer, great fun, and wonderful for community and for people. Fifthly, we can connect the music to our hearts, not just our heads. That's important for learning, but it's also important to understand the person. The person isn't just their head. It goes inside of us deeply to our soul. So in our hearts and in our soul, we can play our music with our bodies, our whole being, and it connects to our deepest part. That can also happen with reading, but oftentimes when we're reading right up front, we're involved so much in the head, especially with how to play and how to read, that the connection doesn't happen as easily. Sixth part, we can develop a musical memory. When we learn how to play by rote, it has really good music and good memory development, because we learn one part of a piece, then another, add those two together, then add a third, and go back and learn those three, play those, and add a fourth, and go back and play, and then add a fifth, and all these, and a piece of music can have many parts to it, and it can go from a few seconds to 30 seconds to 40, 50, 60, whatever. The length of the piece can expand, and along with that expands our memory and our ability to memorize and to remember. Seventh, we can learn to play music by ear that has a groove, to be able to move to the music, groove with the music, all of those wonderful things that come with rhythm. We can pick up those things by ear and they come very naturally to us. Eighth, we can learn to have confidence in our abilities by ear. Part of the things that happens when we learn how to play is we have to acclimate, learn how to play, get some ability to play it, and then we develop, as we play it more, we start getting confidence in being able to do it. So learning to play music by ear helps us as we build that confidence, and that in return allows us then to go explore more and more things. Last part, and there probably is more, but just for today, is that learning by rote gives a person the experience to be able to proceed to learn to read music and to play different styles of music. When we have the confidence, the ability, the foundation down that we've learned learning by rote, that gives us a solid platform of technique, skill, musicianship that we go on to learn how to play music, and we can learn to play different styles of music, even those that don't involve reading. Right now I'd like to talk to you about some of the values to be gained in studying music. We often underestimate just how much children are capable of learning. Their musical memories and the attention spans grow together in their learning process. And learning to play music is such a beneficial skill that it can cross over into benefits for learning other subjects as well. The reason why this is because it stimulates the brain, both the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain. And right now we're going to take a look at some of the multiple pathways that are used in the learning process and the ways in which music helps us as we learn. First, sight. This is for seeing while we imitate. So if you're looking at a person learning how to play and they're playing music, especially by rote, we're using our sight and we're copying our model, which is our teacher. The teacher plays the music, the student is watching them play. They're watching their fingers play. They're watching their expression as they play. They're watching even the nuances that go on with it as they pay attention more as the music advances especially. So that their attention to detail and how they're following a person and their focus, learning by sight. is very important. Second, sound. For listening. We're listening to the sound of the music and the nuances of how you make that sound in a performance. When a student first comes in, they're not acclimated to all of those things. So they are learning how to play a sound, and they play a sound on the guitar. But when you make a sound of playing a note on the guitar, it doesn't necessarily have the best quality yet. You have to learn how to just pluck the string in the right way so that it really sounds well. And we learn to play louder and softer and different colors that we can have while we're playing. All of these nuances a person can pick up by ear and by music study. So learning the sound teaches us how to make a beautiful tone. Touch, using our fingers to touch. We're touching every note that we're playing when we're playing guitar. We're touching with our left hand and we're touching with our right hand. And lots of times both of them at the same time. And that touch is kind of like a way in which we're touching the instrument and the string, and even the way in which we're relating to the instrument itself. It's kind of like a caressing. So you have a very relationship with the instrument that we're learning how to play when we play an instrument. So touch is very important and to a very nuanced level. Even smell, because there's smell in bonding with our instrument and the surroundings in which we play. Every instrument has its own special, unique way, and when we open up the case, we listen to it, we can sit down with it, it has a certain feel, a certain little smell, all the things that go with it. It's kind of a beautiful thing. Fifth, we are moving our body in rhythm to music. That movement, moving in rhythm, all of these experiences are wonderful for the person. Sixth, studying music increases our attention span, especially as I talked about for learning in our memory. Our attention span is also a focus of how do we focus and how long are we able to pay attention. These are greatly improved with music study. Concentration, being able to concentrate with what we're doing for your music when we're playing. If you think about it too much, it can goof us up. You have to learn how to just let go and concentrate at the right level so that we are playing music and remembering as we're going, focusing while we're playing music. There's attention to finer details. We learn the importance of this in music, because in music, when we're playing, the finer details really help make the art come forth. And we learn how to do them, and even the risk that's involved with doing them. There's a uniqueness, a unique special musicality within each person. And they have a way in which they express themselves that comes across on the instrument. And it's up to the teacher to help bring that out of the child, and for the child to discover that about themselves, about how it is that they make music, and the special touch and personality they have that comes forth in their music making. Spontaneity. This is another aspect of it. When we're playing music, things happen, and we learn to play spontaneous, and how to make things up, how to move with the music, and surprises that happen while music is going on. Many lessons, very valuable lessons about being spontaneous. There's an awareness and appreciation for beauty that happens with music study, because we not just learn about it, we experience it, and are surprised sometimes about how important that is in our life and the effect that that has in our life, and attractiveness for living a life and experiencing beauty. There is the fun of playing, and playing music is playing. And it's a form of play, and it's very enjoyable for people to do it no matter what age, and even across generations, to be able to play music together. Loud and soft are important dynamics, and we learn them and experience them and appreciate them for where they're to be used and where not to be used. And even silence has a role. And probably the most important thing, or at least one very most important thing about music study, is that it is a discipline, and we learn discipline. And how many things in society today are working against that? So to help counter that problem within our society, learn to study music, and it is a discipline that helps us to keep focused, and what an enjoyable way to learn. And the 16th and last thing that I'll be talking about today is about the positive values of music study, is the value of internal motivation. When we learn to play music, nobody can make us do it. We learn ourselves to enjoy it and to love doing it, to become internally motivated to continue and to work towards excellence in doing it. Why? Because it becomes important to us. And so I hope you'll have that experience with your music making. So in this session, we've been exploring the rote learning process itself and the many ways in which I think it's a very valuable process. In using the Smith method, when we teach our songs by rote, we learn them each song one by one. And after we've learned quite several songs, and then even quite a few songs, we have a little repertoire of music that we play. This repertoire can be 20 minutes or so in length, and we start at the beginning, play all the way through. And we do that for every lesson. This is the order that we do it. We start the first song, our first exercises, and then our songs, and we play through the whole repertoire. When we get to the end of our repertoire that we know, then we start studying and learning the next song that's coming up in the repertoire. As we get further down the line with our repertoire, then we can start dropping off some of the earlier songs at the beginning and learn the new songs that are continuing with the repertoire. In this way, we're always having a repertoire of 20 minutes to a half an hour that we know how to play at any given time. Teaching by rote is also used not just for learning the repertoires of songs, but also for the technical exercises. When a teacher is working with the child, can look at the child and see where they're learning, what they're able to play, and add another technique exercise that helps expand their ability to play when they're ready for it. In this way, we're doing scales and arpeggios and little chord progressions and various things that help the child get ready for the next piece of music that they're going to be learning. These technical exercises and the playing of the songs help the child to get ready for playing any style of music that they might be going to in the future. So if you're interested in learning how to play music or how to teach music, I invite you to give the Smith method a try and to give rote teaching a try. You may be surprised by how well it works. Making music is enjoyable, so have a great time. Thanks for listening, and God bless.